Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. Today is going to be one of those days. We have with us Nicole Majik. Also, you could say it Majik if you want to be really, French sort of. Nicole is the Empowerment Alchemist. She's a transformational coach and keynote speaker, and she will awaken your true potential by erasing your limiting beliefs and showing you how to live the life you deserve without compromising what you love. Welcome to the show, Nicole. I'm so excited for you to be here.
Ooh, Jill, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with all of you.
It's all this magic happening, alchemy, and stuff.
I know, it's so exciting.
So exciting.
Super exciting.
So how did you get started? I know you've got like a whole bunch of different tentacles out there, and you were telling me the story of being in the lab and how you got your alchemist title. You want to start wherever you want. We'd just like to know more about you.
Sure. I'll just kind of like throw a few things out there that I used to be a chemist for over 16 years. So I'm still a chemist. That's my background. So a chemist at heart anyway. And very much into the science side of things. So I love quantum physics, and that's really where I work in this metaphysical side of the field. So I have degrees in biology and chemistry, as well as a master's in metaphysics. I am the mom of 4 children. Well, 3 of them are now adults, and my youngest, so those are my boys, 3 adults, and my youngest is my daughter, who's turning 15. Air Force mom, and I just love to make an impact and bring positive things into people's lives so that people can be in the space where they can be who they are, unapologetically, totally authentically, and live a life that they love, really.
Wow, I love that. And that's really what it's all about. And chemistry and quantum physics are so related. I love chemistry.
They are, and you'd be surprised how many scientists have this, like, ooh, that's too woo for me. But everything, Nikola Tesla is my favorite scientist of all time. Everything is energy, vibration, and frequency. So if you're a scientist, hop on the bus.
Yeah. Nothing exists and everything exists. It's like, the particle. It's there, but it's not. Electrons, same thing. For the longest time, we thought they were like little planets floating around the nucleus, but they're not. They're energy waves.
Yeah.
They exist and they don't. And if you're looking at them, they're doing something different.
Exactly. So what are yours doing?
Yeah. And you can excite them any way you want.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why the magic of attraction works so much is you get on this vibe, and then other things that are on that vibe start materializing because everything exists all at once.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
And that's like the little conundrum of our brains want to make sense of everything, and when it can't, it just kind of goes bleh and does all this weirdo stuff. Hey Jill, I'm somehow like I'm getting this intuitive hit of when I had a near-death experience in June for a surgery that I had last year,
Mhm.
I had this download and I came out of it and I wrote this little thing. So if you don't mind me just reading it, it's super short and it's about time and energy and waves and like all of that stuff if you really suck it in. So I had written down, and there was something about, it popped into my head about out of time. And you know how we use this phrase that I'm out of time, or I'm running out of time, or I'm going to be out of time. What does it really mean to be out of time? So I wrote this to myself so I could create a video on it. So I'm just going to say it here first.
Please do.
I said, this might sound weird, but really think about this, right? Since time doesn't exist, what if we look at the phrase, you're out of time, a different way? Instead of the unit of measure of linear time, read it again or say it again and think of the concept of music as a waveform. You're out of time now means you're out of sync with the frequencies around you. Now apply that to life, and you can also apply that to death. Your personal frequency is in harmony with the reality you've created until either you don't evolve with it or you've evolved past it containing you. Either way, your out of time becomes something much more meaningful and entirely beautiful.
Oh man, I think I might cry. That is so powerful, Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you think about it and let it sink in, it's like, oh, it brings you down that quantum realm. So get to that point where all of a sudden you're like, yeah, it makes so much sense. And then you like fall out of it again.
It reminds me of like phasing, where we when you look at something that's um like on the old Star Treks when they beam me up, Scotty.
Yes.
You're existing in one realm, but then you're starting to phase, you're out of time, you're not in sync, and then you're moved, and then you're in sync again.
Yes. So when we align our energies to what we want, this is the whole concept of manifesting. It's the whole concept of quantum jumping, entering a different dimension or entering a different version of you, amplifying your energy to a higher energy. It creates a vibrational pattern that influences the energy around you. And the energy around you is also influencing you. So who's going to win out, right? And in the creational factor. So you get to choose that. And if you do the things in the sequence in the right ways, or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you do the thing that creates that, you just shift right into it. So whether it causes you to shift into a new dimensional reality, new version of you, or just creates the ripple, just keep going.
I was reading a book, and I'm not going to remember the guy's name. I think it's Mark Allen, actually.
Okay.
He wrote, it's basically the lazy man's guide to manifesting, but it's manifesting for type Z personalities or something like that. I'll put that in the show notes so that I don't screw this up. But he talks about when you're manifesting that it starts with a vision, and having a vision and doing affirmations really kind of cements change in your mind, and it all starts in your head. Everything exists and doesn't exist in your head as a thought.
Yes.
And as you're focusing these thoughts and you write down affirmations about that are in line with what you want to accomplish, and then you make goals around these affirmations, and then you start loosely doing a plan. And when you do stuff like that, those little exercises, which, take 5 minutes, really, you start to find things coming into your periphery that help push you to that place where you're actually materializing these things that just started out as a thought. It and it's effortless. I mean,
That's how
because
it's
it just
supposed to be.
comes to
Effortless.
you.
And
And
people get weirded out by that word, effortless, like it's a trap. It's a trap.
but it's not.
Can I add something about the affirmation thing? And
Yeah.
so I like how you laid that out, because there's something very specific that the listeners will benefit from understanding, is that affirmations alone are not going to get you there.
Mhm.
Affirmations are there in order to support a belief that you already have. So if you're saying an affirmation that goes against a belief that you have inside of you subconsciously, that affirmation is only going to amplify the negative side of that belief. So the belief has to change so the affirmation can support it. So here's what that book is saying, which is in the right side of it, because if you're using the affirmation as like, okay, here's part of the goal, right? This affirmation is what I want to be accepting. And then you're creating your action plan to get to your goals that affirmation goes with. So now you're taking the steps, because you have to do the work. And the work doesn't have to be the 4-letter word. Work can be effortless. Work can be fun, because when we think about our work, our career, we want to be doing something that seems effortless. We have the skill, we're able to do it. It's fun, we enjoy it. That's why we chose that line of work. So it's the same thing. So as you shift and you move into that space to create that reality, that affirmation is now supporting on a deeper and deeper and deeper level, and amplifying the new belief that you're installing, because you are now moving in the direction and taking the action, because nothing happens until you take action. Nothing happens unless you create that change. So as you're creating that change, that affirmation is supporting the new belief. And because you're doing the thing and doing the work, you are now reaffirming that this new belief is true, and you can do it and you can get there. So you're assigning a new meaning, assigning a new belief, and getting there. So I wanted to make that very clear, because a lot of times people say, well, I did my affirmations for 5 minutes in the morning, and then I went right back to my little victim triangle, and I'm wondering why these affirmations suck. Well, it's not the affirmations that suck, it's your beliefs that suck.
Yeah. And it's the thoughts that you have constantly. And we all start out running the trauma trap or the
Yep.
trauma loop. We make stuff up about situations, and we make stuff up about people and what people are thinking, though they're never thinking about you because they're busy thinking about themselves and their own trauma loops.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
don't care.
So nobody is immune to, going into that mode. How quickly you get out of it. So sometimes you can just have a thought and it's like, whoa, where did you come from? And you're done with that. It can be as simple as that. Or you can sit there and ruminate in the stuff and start creating a reality based on all of those ruminations and all that junk. Blech. That's like living in a junkyard. No, thank you.
And you don't have to think every thought that passes through your brain. I mean, that was a life changer for me when I realized, hey, I'm having an emotional reaction here. I don't have to. I can
Right.
choose if I want to do that or not. And I can just choose to think something else. Or I can choose to reframe this in a way that benefits me. And who cares if
Yeah.
it benefits anybody else or not? But it will if you're doing stuff that makes you feel good, or if you're choosing to look at something in a way that makes you feel good, it's going to make others feel good that are around you, because you're in a different frequency. That vibration just it goes out.
Yeah, and there's that is huge. And I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you used those words and kind of as an example where I like to look at things from that scientific side. In
Mhm.
science, everything is about the data. The data is what gets processed, and the data tells us what to do next, right? So when we look at something, let's say you get triggered because I'll
Your
use something.
husband left the jar in the sink again.
Oh, I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to a bigger trigger
Okay.
where you call your husband or your boyfriend, or guys, you call your mate, and whoever it is, you call your mate and somebody else answers the phone. And then you're saying, oh, well, hello, who's this? Who's this? And you get this whole conversation that goes along that lines. And you're saying, all right, well, I want to talk to the person that belongs to this phone. Well, I can take a message. Oh, can you now? Okay. Well, here's the message. Click. Right? You get off of that call and you're wondering, what the heck? So some people can get triggered with, the fear of the unknown, abandonment, all kinds of stuff. Is this person cheating on me? What is happening? Who the heck is that chick, guy, whatever? Who is that? Why
It's
are
the
they
wrong
answering your
person.
phone? There's a million questions that can flood the brain, right? In that instant, you can choose to go down that road not knowing what the information is, because, hey, it could be anything. Yeah, it could be that bad thing. It could also be nothing. So, in that instant, when you really know nothing, I like to say, okay, let's look at the data. I don't have any information to actually say that this is happening. I also don't have any information to say that this is happening. So because I don't know any of it, I'm going to choose right now something. So you get to choose that. For me, it's always been, as I shifted into certain things, of getting away from triggers and I have a really good imagination. So, we can go down there and make ourselves miserable, but I'm too busy for that. So I would say, okay, I have no information. All I know is somebody else answered somebody's phone. And maybe I don't like what that might be, but I also don't know what it is. So because I don't have the full data, I am choosing something that's going to be easy on me. I'll figure out the rest later. But right now, so I'm not ruminating all day until, let's say it's your spouse and you're ruminating until they get home, and that's like 6 hours away. You're going to drive yourself nuts. And what if it's nothing? What if it's something? Who cares? What if it's nothing? Who cares? So in that moment, you say, I choose to just assume that everything is going on as any other day. And then you can ask questions later. Hey, I tried calling you. Who answered your phone? What's up with that? And then your instincts will tell you.
Yeah,
If you
and
stay out
most
of the emotion.
yeah, it's hard to stay out of the emotion. I'm going to grant that. But if you practice staying out of the emotion, it does get easier. And you may find that you don't even hang up, because that's an emotional reaction. It's just like you're already like churning the mill, the emotional mill. If you can just detach and say, okay, and you can ask questions even at that point, is he okay? Because
Right.
maybe this is an emergency person.
Exactly.
I mean,
It could be anything.
it could be anything. So you can, like, your mind doesn't have to automatically go to, oh my God, he's cheating on me. Because that's, we're women. That happens. It's a thing. We'll own
Whatever.
it.
Happens to
If
like so many people, right? Men, women,
dogs, if I could talk.
yeah, dogs, dogs, dogs. Dogs are dogs.
Yeah, it is really about taking your thoughts captive. It's really understanding what it is you're thinking about, and that helps you not get triggered so much.
Right.
It and your life is much better if you're not getting triggered all the time.
Oh yeah, so much better. It's such a beautiful thing when you can navigate through your day and you don't have all these emotional things that even when things are, seemingly negative things are happening and you just go about it because guess what? That's going to change too. Everything changes. That's the whole message of this life, that everything is in constant change. So if you can deal with something as it's a temporary thing, no matter what it is, it's always temporary. It's always going to change because it's constantly changing. And it's chaos theory from order because of enough constant change begets chaos, and chaos calls for order to take place. So chaos begets order. And we just cycle through over and over and over again. And that is exactly alchemy, the alchemization of our inner stuff. It happens over and over and over again as we evolve.
And we exist in reality only in the now, in this moment. It's always this moment
Yep.
in time. And in the moment, I heard somebody talk about the idea that we exist kind of like a camera snapping like a video. It's
Yeah.
actually still frames. It's not continuous motion. And our lives are actually like that. It's like some 22 comes to mind, but it's like billionths of a second or something. And some really huge number that happens in still frame. Our lives happen in still frame. So we're torn apart, we go back together. We're torn apart, go back together. But it just happens so fast that we see it as reality, but it doesn't actually exist. We don't actually exist.
Yeah, I think I heard that either something similar or what you're saying is sparking a memory from a long time ago where somebody likened it to like an LED light where the light goes on and then the light goes on, so that light goes off and the next light goes on, and it's like it's it's not actually something else is moving. You're not actually moving. You're just the light is going on and off, right?
Yeah. All of reality's like that.
Yeah,
In that, from that perspective, which I found really fascinating.
right. It's kind of, I like to think of it as, we can be moving at rapid rates, but we feel like we're sitting still right where we are, right? But
Mhm.
the earth is turning, the universe is expanding, like all this stuff is happening, everything is in motion. We are actually like tearing through the universe at massive speeds. We just don't feel it because everything is moving with us.
Yeah. My husband once asked me if I wanted to have a headache. He was reading this book about, I think it was on magnetics, how magnets work. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
theory was that everything is expanding so fast that it causes things to stick together or something like that. It really was like, no, I don't want a headache. Please don't try
Yeah,
to explain it to
if
me. I'll
you
read the book.
yeah, if you put magnets in a certain way, so a lot of times people will use magnetic therapy. This is like such a weird conversation. People will use magnetic therapy, but
Mhm,
if you flip those magnets over and you're using the off poles than what
mhm.
you're supposed to be using, you're doing the opposite.
Interesting. Do you know how magnets work? Because I don't.
Magnets have like their own, it's polarizing field, a polarizing magnetic field. So
But
when
doesn't everything have that?
we all have electromagnetic fields, yeah, and our magnetism is just dependent on how intense that magnetic field is.
So what causes things to have a more intense magnetic field than others? Is it just based on the elements involved, or is it, do you know?
I don't really know the full answer to that. Science
Keep searching.
might have to look that one up. Only because like it's like the intensity of the field, whatever the pull is. I mean, you can have magnets that are small that are very, very intense with the field pulling
Right.
everything in, right? And if you look at if you take the magnets and you work with them, you can make them do different things and use different magnetic intensities to do different things. I mean, Tesla was really good with magnets and all that, and the magnetic fields and generating energy through the magnetic fields that he would create with and keep everything rotating because of the push pull of the magnets, he would create the energy from it.
Energy. Yeah.
Um,
And that's what he talked about with the ether. And he had a car that actually ran on
nothing,
magnets.
nothing, no fuel. But yeah, exactly. And if you, I can say from certain, like my experience with healing energies and facilitating healing energies, when I work with people's energy pathways and I open them up and I'm like feeling through different pieces of people,
Hmm.
it feels like magnets to me. So when I find a blockage, it actually feels like when you put two poles of the same poles of magnets together and it repels each other and it has that
Hmm.
feeling. That's
Hmm.
what I feel. So that's how I'm working with other people's energies is through like the torsion field and that energy field where it feels like magnets and I work through and flip it and change it and help it to go back to unblocked. So that's the best way that I can describe how I facilitate energy healing.
That's really interesting. I, I want to ask you this one other question, then we'll talk about how you do what you do and who you do it for. But
Okay.
have you ever heard of the coral castles?
The what?
The
Coral
coral
castles?
castles, the coral castle, I guess it's just
Where is that?
singular.
No.
It's in Florida, and it's a guy who had like a third grade education. He was a really small man, and he took these huge boulders, granite, like weighed thousands of pounds, and he moved them by himself. And he built this, they call it a castle, but you should look it up. It's really fascinating.
I'm gonna.
But I'm wondering if he did it. I think they don't know how he did it, and he was really secretive about it. But it seems to me that he probably used ley lines and magnetism in order to make these and vibrations, because he had a machine that made a certain sound that
Oh
I
yeah.
think he was using with it. But it's just so many fascinating um,
It may have
experiments.
opened up like wormhole portal like kind of thing where you just kind of push it through and there it is. So it didn't have to actually move it very far. He's just shooting it through an interdimensional portal or something.
Yeah, I
Sounds,
just totally possible. It's like the Philadelphia experiment where
yeah,
Tesla was involved with that. And he was
yep,
like, no, I don't want to, I don't want you guys doing this because you're gonna have problems. And they had problems.
yeah, exactly. Um, that's really interesting. I'm gonna look that up. You
Yeah,
just sparked my
it's
curiosity. Thank you.
you
Yes.
can visit it. It's still around. The guy is long gone, but I think the boulders. I mean, he had like a couple 1,000-pound boulder so perfectly situated that you could just push it and it'll twist so you could go in and out. I mean,
Oh,
it's just like it's amazing to me. I
so cool.
yeah, just
Hmm.
fascinating. And then you've got the Hadron Collider that's like on the other end of it. They're going really small and he went really big.
Yeah.
So
What
many
the
cool
heck?
things going on. So how do you do what you do and who do you do it for and all the stuff like that?
Okay. So I help people go from resistance to resilience and erase limiting beliefs from that mindset and help them reprogram the beliefs into something that's going to be foundationally supportive and catapult them into the life that they want to live. And who do I do it for? Mostly the people that I work with are entrepreneurs, business owners, teams, and um, a lot of times people in sales or corporate. A lot of corporate dropouts that became entrepreneurs, mostly like holistic service and those types of people. People that have done a little bit of the work on their own and just got so far that it's the subconscious beliefs that are really derailing them. And so teams working together to erase that stuff and complement each other instead of trigger each other. That's a big one.
Yeah.
So super fun. What else? Did I miss something? I
No,
mean,
do you do it one-on-one? Do you do it in groups? Do you do both?
I do both. Yes, I do both. I have some I have some programs that help you to really map out the foundational pieces, because if you don't know where to start, that's probably the best place, is really defining what you want. And there's a process to defining what you truly desire. So defining that, aligning it with your soul's purpose, and then creating the action plan to get there. So that's the foundation piece.
Um, I'm sorry, I keep having this cleaner thing pop up. It's
Oh.
like, go away. So, how do I know you have a quiz that you offer to people? How would they find that?
So that is on my website. There's a little button that you can press on my website, magicllc.com. That is the Take the Beliefs quiz. It actually goes through 14 core beliefs
Mhm.
and quick yes or no questions. And then once you submit that, it will trigger an email series that will go over each one of those core beliefs in more detail and how to identify it and overcome it.
Oh, I
So
love that. That sounds really helpful because there's so many of us that we have limiting beliefs, but we really don't even know what they are. We just know we have them.
it's true. And the ones that compound on top of each other create these convoluted things in our minds that I do have like a deeper dive beliefs assessment that I do with people, with clients. And it's so funny because they'll take that, and when I'm analyzing it, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. And so I know the questions to ask to really delve deep in our coaching session that follows. And I'll show them some stuff, and because there's a lot of things that end up dovetailing, they think, oh my God, I'm so messed up, right? And I just laugh in a nice way. It's like, oh, don't worry about that, because you're not so messed up. It's that these things dovetail. So the bad news is that they've dovetailed and caused you, pain and suffering in some way. But the good news is they dovetail. So guess what? When we start pulling it apart, they unravel very quickly and fall apart from each other. So you can look at it two different ways. You get to choose which way you look at it. Look at the data.
Yeah, yeah. And just having somebody else um come alongside you. There's so many things that we have that exist in our lives, in our psyche and our souls that we can't see because we're so close. It's, they can't see the forest for the trees sort of situation. And to
Yeah.
have somebody like you come along and say, hey, I see that thing over there that's causing you all this grief. You can't see it because it's like right there behind your head. It's
Yeah.
really close to you though.
Oh, I like how you
Batted
said
away.
can't see the forest for the trees, because a lot of people say it a different way that doesn't make any sense. You said it the correct way.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different versions. I
Yes.
screw up other ones though. So sometimes we do it on purpose around here just because we're weird.
Sometimes. Weird is good. I like weird.
Yeah, weird makes life interesting.
I know.
So people can get a hold of you by going to your website. That's probably the easiest way.
That's one way. So I have like 3 ways that people can get to me depending
Mhm.
on what you want. So my website will also lead you to my marketplace if you click in the right space. So if you want free resources and to see a bunch of my like standing offerings that are always there,
Mhm.
you can take a look at NicoleMajik.com. And if you want to just go ahead and see what I have available to schedule, whether it's a call, a session, or a workshop, you can look at NicoleMajik.as.me, which is my scheduler.
That's awesome. And Nicole spells her last name, Majik, just because we're audio in some venues, and I just want to make sure everybody gets that.
Yes, Majik. So the main website, MAJIKLLC.com.
And all the rest of us, we don't get to have such a cool last name as that.
Well, you can just say mine all kinds of different ways, like magic, magique.
Yeah, just so elegant and so cool.
Use it as a mantra to calm down.
Yeah, and breathe
Magique.
it in, breathe it in. So, Nicole, this has been so interesting. And is there something that you want to leave the audience with? You hope they take away from our conversation?
Yeah, I'll leave the audience with this, is that it doesn't matter what is happening in your life right now. If you can take a look at the data and start deciphering it in a way that shows you, even if it's seemingly negative, and if you use that, this is just seemingly negative, it's just a temporary situation, because all it's doing is raising your awareness to the pieces that are not supporting you. So your foundation may feel like it's crumbling, because guess what? The things that are not supporting you moving forward in your growth, in your development, in your success, yes, those things are falling apart because they no longer belong there. So then you get to choose what to put in its place that will support you, that will move you forward. And it's so simple and right in front of your face, but just open your eyes, open your ears, sit still for a little bit so that you can be aligned with your soul's purpose and what the universe is actually telling you. So, and if you need some help, find someone.
Oh, Nicole.
Call me.
I love it. Thanks so much for joining me, Nicole. This has been so fascinating.
Thank you, Jill. It's been my pleasure completely. And I loved it. I love the conversation. Such a wonderful.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the U World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.